What is up? This is your LA in a minute, and I'm here in historic South Central in front of the Lincoln Theater, which was the West Coast Apollo, because I want to tell you some of the amazing and rich history of this special part of Los Angeles, historic South Central. Let's get into it. Historic South Central has its roots in the late 19th century as one of the only places in Los Angeles that African Americans were allowed to move. Now, Biddy Mason is an extremely important figure in Los Angeles history, a nurse, a philanthropist, a businesswoman who was born a slave in South Carolina and became one of the first black women to own real estate in Los Angeles. The African American population boomed along Central Avenue adjacent to her properties. Historic South Central is a very specific district and not the area the media erroneously refers to as South Central, which is a misnomer for basically all the black neighborhoods in South Central Los Angeles. Historic South Central encompasses the area between the Harbor Freeway, Central Avenue, Washington Boulevard, and Vernon Avenue. By 1915, the California Eagle, which was the preeminent African-American newspaper of Los Angeles, was calling the area the Black Belt of the city. The neighborhood's proximity to downtown job centers, its affordable homes, and extensive streetcar service led to an influx of residents from the city and beyond. So Central Avenue was considered the hub of black cultural life in Los Angeles from the 1920s to the 1950s. You had jazz clubs, R&B clubs, great restaurants. It was essentially the Harlem Renaissance of the West Coast. During the 1920s, Los Angeles was still divided and racist. That's why historic South Central was so important as a community. And buildings like this, the Second Baptist Church, provided a safe ground for people to feel welcome and to feel a sense of community. And this church is now a historic monument because it's designed by famed African-American architect Paul Williams. So the importance of the Lincoln Theater cannot be overstated. In fact, it's the centerpiece of what is now known as the historic Central Avenue Jazz Corridor. When it opened in 1927, it was one of the first places on the West Coast where African Americans could both perform and patronize. And we're talking some of the most serious legends throughout American history performed here. Duke Ellington, Nat King Cole, B.B. King. The list goes on and on. In 1962, it was turned into a church, but it also hosted some important events for the NAACP and the Black Panther Party. So neighborhood obliterating freeway construction, Reagan-era policies, crack cocaine, job losses, all combined to really take a toll on historic South Central in the 70s and 80s. Conversely, the neighborhood has kind of worked its way back, and it's a working class neighborhood filled with Latinos, and it has a promising future with an excellent, amazing, and rich past. All right, LA, it's been a minute.